Well, Daryl, you'll always be remembered, I'm sure, for your role in Splash. But you particularly wanted to do that part, didn't you?
Well, yeah, not only because I had, as a child, one of my favorite fairy tales was the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, Little Mermaid, but I learned how to scuba dive when I was 7 because the laws that said that kids can't scuba dive until they're 13 hadn't been created yet. So they used to have these little pony tanks, which are supposed to be support tanks for when your big tank ran out or to carry along with you. And
You mean on your back, oxygen tanks,
but I used to think they were made for kids, you know. So I learned how to scuba dive very young and have traveled the world with my family and seen the world under the water almost as much as I've seen it outside of the water. So when the film came around, I'm like, hello, I've been practicing this for ages, you know. I've got to do this.
So what's happened to that world?
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, in some of the most remote places in the world, I've dove where there's very, very few people, and I assumed, while I've seen massive amounts of degradation and devastation, like to the point where it's literally ghost towns, and the once colorful corals and all the different species of fish that were swimming around me had become boneyards, like gray and white, broken off, dead, no life in it. I thought that at least these remote places would still be thriving and filled with life. And a few years ago, I took Dr. Sylvia Earle to Palau with me as one of those remote places, and one of the places where I'd seen more species of every kind of sea life than I'd ever seen anywhere. I took her there, and I'm like, well, wait till you see this. It's gonna blow your mind, And we got there, and it was like, once again, it was like gray, dying or dead coral reefs, very few, fish. I was so heartbroken, and she said, that's everywhere. Sylvia said, I'm sorry to say, this is the situation globally. And I think people don't see it because less than 1% of the population of the planet has ever seen that world.
What can we do about it?
I think we need a multi-tiered approach. One is to address the problems that we can relate to that are affecting it negatively head on. Like ocean acidification is obviously one of the biggest crises, aside from the overfishing.
From emissions of carbon dioxide, which turn the oceans acid.
That's right. Yeah, and the two things that can turn the ocean acidification problem around would be restructuring our agricultural system so that it's an agricultural system based on building nutrients and building soil and using non-toxic non-toxic fertilizers, fungicides and pesticides, rather than these fossil fuel derived petroleum toxic and carcinogenic ones that create dead zones when they run off. And another thing is obviously the way that we produce our energy. We already know how to make clean energy that doesn't create carbon, that doesn't pollute, that doesn't hurt our public health, and doesn't also then create all this excess carbon in the atmosphere that has to be sequestered in the ocean. The other portion of it is to look at our fishing practices. I mean, something like trawling should just be illegal. Globally, it should just be banned. That trawling is when you just drop a big thing and just scrape everything and just take it all.
Several sizes of jumbo jet sizes.
It's an antiquated and a stupid process, and it's a process that we realize it's the equivalent of how some people used to fish with a quarter stick of dynamite. I mean, you just destroy everything to get a little bit of fish. I mean, it's just stupid, So obviously eradicating dangerous fishing practices, allowing the fish populations to replenish themselves, since we've taken 90% of the big fish of the ocean in just the last 50 years. We need to allow those fish to start to repopulate, to give them a chance to repopulate. I'm personally a vegetarian, but it doesn't mean you have to be vegetarian. It means eat lower on the food chain. eat the fish that don't eat other fish, like tilapia, catfish, carp that are considered sustainable. And don't, give the other fish a break for a while if you want to eat them, because if you want to eat them, they're not going to be around unless you give them a break for a while, and then you can eat them later once they've replenished themselves.
Well, thanks so much, Daryl, for telling us all that, and good luck with the rest of your campaigns.
Thank you.